Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I hope everyone is doing okay. So today I thought it might be an interesting idea to maybe compare like the crypto versus the high yield option ETFs. Just because I've noticed in my own personal portfolio, crypto is actually becoming like a larger and larger part of my portfolio, and I kind of thought it would be like the opposite at this time. So originally my plan was to kind of roll some of the profits from like the high yield option ETFs into crypto and then exit, and then see how things play out. Because I think this is like still my theory that like AI, crypto, and high yield stuff, we might be in a bubbly territory, but I'm trying to see like which ones will pop first, and then kind of roll them before they go down. So like right now, like high yield feels like it turned from like co-op mode into like PvP mode, so versus player. So I think my timing is kind of a little bit off because I thought like we were gonna have like more time in the high yield space. So I thought, maybe it might be a good idea to actually do the opposite as of right now. But again, things can change because like I think that's interesting in that they both like the crypto space and the high yield space, like the goals are very similar. People want to escape like the money rat race faster. But because like these are higher on the risk curve, their environment changes pretty fast too. So it's important to be alert. So in crypto, like being first is key to getting like the best returns. And unfortunately, this requires a lot of research. You have to spend time on Twitter just like reading a lot of weird stuff, and then you have to kind of filter out like a lot of the garbage that's out there. Same thing with just like going into like the discords, and just like seeing how like get a sense of how like the community is. And then for high yield option ETFs, it's sometimes I feel like just a little bit behind. I think it's just because in general like the space is a little bit newer in the sense that we've never seen like zero DTE ETFs before. So I think that's part of the issue. But in high yield option ETFs, like it really depends on like the quality of the management, and you also have to keep an eye on tourist erosion. So this is my opinion, but so far, because this is going to make my third crypto cycle, so I think like the crypto community had like a lot more time to develop some of their analytical tools, and consequently, like I feel like so far, like the crypto community, like it's attracting, or like so far, like has attracted a lot more talent, and they can be kind of weird in that they're very protective of their own, and it could be like very tribal. Like the high yield community, I think because it's a little bit newer in terms of community. Sometimes I feel like it's kind of lukewarm, and I'm thankful that my subscribers are generally are on the nicer side, but that's not the case for everybody. Because it feels like sometimes people are getting punchy, especially when things, when the market conditions are not so good, uh, and then people are understandably like they're kind of wondering how come like the high yield option ETFs haven't quite delivered as promised. And I think part of it is that maybe the high yield community hasn't appreciated like the analysis so far. But this is just like a personal experience. I think maybe that'll change as time goes on. So just like as an example of like in terms of like the community analysis in terms of crypto, I mean they have so many tools out there that they're already like built, and then like the analysis is just like so fast, and they can like the turnaround time is like pretty amazing. So like for example, like when the Bitcoin ETFs first came out, there was all this analysis just based off of like just like in the Bitcoin space alone, based on like the flows of like the different spot ETFs that are out there, and like it's pretty amazing. And this is just a coincidence, by the way. This person is named Whale Panda. I have no affiliation with this person, but it's just like just to highlight some examples. And then like let's talk like returns. Like so far, like my crypto, on average, is returning, just like ridiculous results. And don't get me wrong, like the high yield option ETFs have the potential to also return, pretty good yields. But this is in terms of like traditional finance terms. Like compared to crypto, like some of the high yield option ETFs are like they feel kind of like romper room in comparison. But of course, like with higher returns, like you have to take on like more risk, so you have to keep that in mind as well. And this is a very interesting opinion from Fred Krueger. So in case like you've never heard of this person is pretty popular in the Bitcoin community now. He was also like an ex Wall Streeter, and now he's like a pretty much like a Bitcoin maxi. And he posted something that was really provocative, I thought, because it's saying like the search for yield is a false god. In the end, the only thing that matters is total return. And I don't quite agree with this, but I do respect his opinion, because in a sense he's right in that Bitcoin is, I believe, one of the best performing, just like assets of all time. But like that assumes like you bought like pretty much in the beginning, and not everybody had the chance to buy it like in the beginning. And there's also like things like just like practical considerations. For example, like like I can't use Bitcoin or Satoshis to pay like everyday bills, and this is where like the high yield option ETFs come in handy, especially as time goes on. Like things like MSTY, I'm hoping that will maybe change some of these guys' minds that you know at some point you're gonna have to take some profits anyway. So I'm hoping there might be like some like a room for compromise, but you know we'll just have to see. And then something that's interesting, that's very similar to like the high yield option ETFs in crypto. There's something called yield farming. In the last cycle, this is like very time intensive because you have to figure out which ones are legit and which ones are not. Because like with yield farming, there's a lot of like token inflation, and there's a lot of also like share dilution, which is very similar to tourist erosion in terms of like a high yield ETFs. So instead of like creating like more shares, people will just like create like more tokens, or like they'll have like a very high token count, and then they kind of like lock it over time. So over time, as time goes on, like the owners of like these tokens like kind of they're able to sell them in the open market, and that like unfortunately that crashes like the price. And that's a similar dynamic to how sometimes like the high yield option ETFs, if your like let's say like your assets like your percentage increase isn't as high as your or is less than like your shares percentage increase, then you have a problem, because like that creates like a dilution effect on your returns. But in terms of like in crypto, sometimes they have like really ridiculous, unsustainable yields of like 1,000%. So as soon as you see something like that, just be careful. Just yeah, you have to just be careful with like what they call like the Ponzi-nomics, with token locks and unlocks. And then you also have to be aware of like certain people like they use social media to pump these like crap coins. So just give you an example. So this is from like something called Curve Finance. This is a little bit old, but as soon as you see like an APY of like 5 million%, of course you're gonna realize like something's kind of fishy with that, because like there's no way you can sustain this type of these type of yields. And even with some of these other ones like 148%, 61%, and like 59%, you have to kind of like be suspicious of these things. And if you look at like the total value lock, that also gives you kind of like indication. So for example, like this 5 million%, there's only like $65,000 in here. So as time goes on, as people enter, like this APY is going to go down. So these are kind of some of the things that you want to be careful with, if you decide to also uh, look and explore in the crypto space. And then there's also like a reputation thing here too. Obviously, like for high yield option ETFs, if you look through like the prospectus, you'll notice like people are generally more professional and they're generally more polished. For example, like if you watch any of like Jay's or Sylvia's interviews online, they're not. I don't get a sense that they're scammers or in any way. But then like kind of like on the flip side, sometimes like in crypto, some of these folks are actually anonymous, so you don't even know like what their educational background is, and sometimes there's like it can be kind of weirdo. And I don't want to throw shade at my crypto friends, but sometimes they act a little strange. So there's that, and then obviously you have to watch out for like the general like hacks and scams and that kind of stuff. So this is like one example. This was like a supposedly like profitable crypto bro, and I mean, it's amazing that he was able to exploit 100 million, but then like he kind of I think bragged about it in public, and now there's possibility that this person's gonna have to face jail time. So just watch out for that. And again, just as another reminder, just watch your wallet in general, whether it's high yield option ETFs or crypto, because sometimes like in bull markets, geniuses get the bullet first. So no, there's no need to like rush into anything. Like take your time to learn and explore. Because sometimes like in the crypto world psychology, it's kind of funny. Bitcoin recently was as high as 73,000, and people were kind of got a little bit too cocky. But then like of course like since Bitcoin and other cryptos are they're volatile, so even if it dips down to like 60,000, I don't think it's that bad. But then like people they kind of exaggerate, like they feel like they're gonna have to like work at McDonald's, like it's just part of the ecosystem. It's gonna be volatile. You can't expect high profits and like low volatility, right? So far this is just my current guess. Of course, like things are subject to change. I still think that high yield option ETFs. I'm saying as a group dies first. And when I say die, I don't mean like go to zero. I think like the returns will just like kind of go down over time until they hit like a kind of like where I think will be like a reasonable return level. So I'm thinking like maybe if it goes down to like maybe between like 15-20% ish as a group, I think that's when like people will kind of get frustrated and start leaving. And then like crypto like will probably be next. Like they'll die later, but like the drawdowns, they're it's a it can be pretty brutal. Don't be surprised if like crypto goes down like 90-95%. Like in the past, you don't know like what's gonna happen. We don't know what the next FTX is gonna be, or we don't even know like what the next hack is gonna be. So just be aware of that. And I know some of you will be saying like, "Oh, it's different this time," but are you sure about that? I mean, don't get me wrong. Like the Bitcoin spot ETFs are great, but it doesn't solve like all your problems. Oops, sorry about that. So just a reminder, I think eventually money returns to its rightful owners. So this is like a thing that one of my old bosses used to tell us all the time. Like when you have like a nice profit, make sure you take some off the table just to protect yourself. So as I mentioned before, like I think eventually like the high yield option ETFs, like it'll be like a decline. I'm hoping it'll be gradual. I'm hoping it won't be like something like shocking and like kind of like an avalanche effect. But anyway, like it'll still like discourage and frustrate newbies. And then like and with crypto, profits disappear fast. So like you have to be on your tip top game and like just take your profits when you have them, and also be flexible and stay on top of your positions as things can change quickly. For example, like Tesla, like people were saying, oh, it's gonna go back to $100 or even like it's gonna go out of business, it's a scam, blah blah blah. And then look, now it's, at the time of this recording, I think it was like 190, and I actually might touch like 200 again. So yeah, you just never know. And then one thing that's pretty interesting about crypto is that you can actually track people's wallets. So it's easier to see like fund flows, and it's also easier to see who's lying or not. People lie with their mouths, but they don't lie with the money, and that's one advantage that crypto has over maybe like high yield option ETFs. So you can see like high yield option ETFs flows, but like in a kind of like an aggregate way. But with crypto, you can actually track individual wallets. So I just pulled this from, there's something called dexscreener.com. You can kind of look at this on your own free time. And this is like one of the tools that I use to research for to see if there's any interesting like new trends or like tokens. So this is just an example. Please don't rush in to buy like this kind of stuff, because I think Monk is probably like a meme coin like based off of monkeys or something. So this is just like a again, this is an example. This is not advice or in any way. This is just to kind of show you you can actually like go to something called like one of the tabs. Like you can actually look at like the top traders. So for example, like the top one over here. I mean, this is crazy. This person bought like 2.9 million worth of, I guess, whatever this junk coin is, and then they flipped it for like 3 million. So they made like a pretty fast $82,000 profit. But again, this is I mean, you have to be very careful with this stuff, because like I'm pretty sure by the time you watch this, this might like go down to zero, because I mean it's crypto, so you have to expect this kind of nonsense. But this is just like one example, and then another wallet tracking thing that you can do. You can probably go to like most blockchain explorers and kind of see like who the big players are, and this is like a what I would call like a pretty decent sized well. This person has at least like 3.5 million, so you can kind of see like who has, or like you can kind of see like for example, if you find like one of these whales, and then you kind of like go through like their wallet holdings, you can kind of see like maybe where they're putting like most of their effort. So surprisingly, this person is putting 99% of their wealth in Ethereum. I kind of was expecting it to be a little bit more spread out across like these different chains, and most of this part, this 3.5 million, it's almost like 2 million putting into Uniswap positions, and I thought that was pretty interesting. But again, this none of this is advice in any way. This is just what this person is doing. So, and again, I still think we're 2024 will still be like a pretty good year for most people in terms of like markets. But again, my guess is that we could be heading into like a bubble, and that's gonna lead to FOMO and sloppy analysis. So I kind of just like want to warn you: don't let like big money get to your head, because like sometimes with both traditional and social media, like it creates a lot of like FOMO and FUD, and it creates like these overreactions. But at the same time, these overreactions will create opportunities later down the line. So just keep your mind and willpower strong. So just like a kind of like a final compare. I think for crypto, one of the pros is that it can, but not guarantee that you can get rich. And I feel like in crypto, there's generally more freedom, but of course, like it depends on which country you're in. And I think for like there's still like some hope for like the high yield option ETF space. I think there's a chance that it might be able to keep you rich, assuming like the surviving high yield option ETFs can maintain reasonable yields. And there also might be like some good news on that in the future. These two spaces might be able to converge once options on the spot crypto ETFs in the future occur. So right now, unfortunately, we still don't have options on option spot option ETFs. But I'm glad, like I think Bybit has like open-ended language in their perspective, so maybe in the future they can, instead of using like BITO, they might be able to use IBIT, or maybe like BlackRock can kind of turn their existing IBIT into like a, like a covered call fund in the future. So there's some potentially some good news there too. But of course, like you have to be cognizant of the risk, especially with high yield option ETFs. And there's very few chances that you can get like discounts on them. So they might not appear again for a while, and they might not last very long. And then just like in general in the crypto space, like not financial advice, of course, but like if you see like Bitcoin like drop down to like maybe 60,000 or 50,000, like I myself, like I'll try to like buy any dip that I can. But of course, like it takes time to kind of like search for bargains in general, outside of like Bitcoin, in the other cryptos. So you have to be patient, and you have to have like some discipline. So if you like this type of content, please consider giving this a like. If you could subscribe as well, that'd be greatly appreciated. Of course, super thanks are also appreciated as well. Regardless of which area that you choose, I hope you people make some good money out there, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye now.